Always alerting, always tracking. This is Next Weather.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Chief Meteorologist and Hurricane Specialist Ivan Cabrera. It is Wednesday, so it is time for Weather Talk. When we get together here with our Mets, Dave Warren and Cindy Presley, and we talk about all things weather and what is on your mind as well. We've got a very important question that we're going to answer as well from one of our viewers here. But let us start, shall we, guys, with what's going on in the tropics. Sean, all of a sudden, right? We'll talk about Sean in a second here, but this is where we are as far as the peak of the season, obviously September 10th, and then we just continue to come down. You know, it's always nice to get through October without any Florida threats, which right now we don't have any. And once we get into November, typically things will wind down, but what did we have in November last year, right? We had a hurricane making landfall in South Florida. So, you know, we're hoping that doesn't happen, but it's just a reminder the season is, you know, a good half a year here. So it's not until we get into really the end of November that we can all relax, get into our Thanksgiving feasts and, you know, look forward to next year and for a slower season. Because this one's been pretty rambunctious, although, you know, a lot of these systems have not impacted us. So for us so far, say for Idalia, has been a pretty tolerable season.
And Sean is the farthest east storm to form this late in the season.
Right. You know, when I see the storms forming in the East Atlantic this time of year, you know, it's like, oh, poor storm. A lot of them just fall apart. I mean, Sean may not even make it the next few days. It'll get sheared apart, which is why we have the Cabo Verde season, which is when things are really, you know, favorable for those. But things get very hostile very quickly in the Eastern Atlantic. So we think Sean will meet its fate by the time we get into this weekend. And we don't see Tammy, Vince, and Whitney, although we do have one tropical wave that is going to be following in Sean's footstep here. I'll zoom in a little bit more center so you can get there's Sean there. It just, you know, looks very disorganized. Look at the really strong, lot of wind there. And when we look at that, you know, that is not good for tropical systems, and so we get excited about that. There's a tropical wave. Looks pretty vigorous coming off of Africa. You know, thunderstorms blow up, then they wane, and then they come back, and so that also will, you know, probably not even get a name because it's so close to Sean, and Sean is going to just crash into these very strong winds. So far, you haven't heard us, you know, talking about tropics too much because things have been relatively quiet for us here. We had that one low that we were looking at in the Gulf for potential development, but all that's done. It's just brought us a front through and some good rain throughout this Wednesday. All right, as we move on to this weekend, we have a lot of weather going on, but up above, Cindy's going to talk about this very exciting. This may be news to you because, you know, we haven't talked about it so much, but it's a annular solar eclipse coming up for Saturday.
Right, and why we call this annular and not total, it's because it's the location of the moon. The moon is at its farthest point away from the Earth. That's when the moon moves between the Earth and the sun. At this point, the moon is the farthest away, so the disk of the moon is going to appear very small, so it won't entirely cover the entire sun. So that's why you get this ring of fire around it.
Right, so a partial eclipse, not a total eclipse. The moon would have to block the sun entirely for that to happen, and that is coming up for next year, 2024.
In April.
And we'll show you some pictures that Cindy and I were actually in the last. Were you in the last total solar eclipse? I didn't ask you.
Here.
You were here.
I was here.
Then you
so you didn't.
It wasn't a total.
You wasn't a total.
No, you weren't.
All right. We were in the total, and we have some pictures to show you.
Yeah.
But let's get to this one here. This is the annular partial eclipse, and that is the path of what will be the, you know, totality. So there you see, Cindy.
We're quite a ways from it. You have to go anywhere from Oregon down into Texas, and that's where you're going to see the complete ring of fire. That'll be the most beautiful. Although here in Miami, we are kind of in the path. We're going to see about 58% of it. Yeah, so that's good.
It looks like a little Pac-Man, the moon. So we'll show you that. That's the way that's going to look. So 60%. So, you know, we just reminded Miami 58%. You know, you move further and closer to the event at 64 in the Keys. So even a better show there. My concern on Saturday, we should, you know, be able to get some good views, but, you know, we still have the potential for some showers around, partly cloudy skies. Whatever you do, use protective.
Like this.
There they are.
They're
the sunglasses. Are those from 2017?
These are from 2017.
2017.
Yes, saved back in the drawer. So when you look at them, it'll be dark. They're not broken. But when you look at
Right.
the sun, you'll see it.
That's
And
when you get it.
don't use sunglasses. Sunglasses are not.
That's not going to help
No,
you.
that's not going to work.
Yeah, no, not at all. And you know, it's going to be a hot day. We're talking
Yeah.
mid-90s. Going to feel like triple digits. So,
So what's
you
it-
won't
do we
be
have
out
the
there too long,
time, the
probably.
time of it?
All right, so here it is. That's the way it's
we're
going to look
covering it up.
as it comes in.
Back up,
Oh,
Dave.
can we see?
Back up.
Back
So
up, Dave.
58%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all
There we
right.
go.
There it is.
There we go. Can you see that?
133.
Yep.
That's the money shot.
Yes, but-
Hopefully we won't have the clouds we're showing here, but and we'll get a nice little shot there. But you see, there's no ring of fire because you know it's just not going to be a complete eclipse for us. 58%. So we'll have to take it, and then it ends at 3:11. So this is about a 3-hour show.
Mid-afternoon.
Yeah.
It'll come in, it'll go out, and you know you may not notice it. It may look like, but if you are looking up with the sunglasses, I think it'll be a neat show.
Yeah.
And then we'll get ready for 2024, which also won't come through here as a total. We're going to have to go to it. I think Dallas is one of the.
There was two
San
spots
Antonio.
San
in
Antonio.
there, crisscross, where the
That's
last
the-
one
right.
and this one happened.
Mm-hmm.
So back to 2017. Shall we
Does
take some
this look
pictures?
like a strange picture to you? You're going, what is that?
Looks like an IKEA art wall
It does.
project or something,
this is,
yeah?
This is actually from St. Louis in August of 2017. I was there, and these are the shadows as the eclipse was happening, the total eclipse. This is the shadows from the trees on the sidewalk, so you can see the sun, the little like moon-shaped
Yeah.
shadows.
Oh,
and there
right.
was everywhere on the ground. It was
Right.
so amazing.
Were you expecting that? That was like,
No,
yeah.
no. Everybody was looking at it, going, "Oh, look at that!" Look, it was life-changing almost.
It really was. I was in North Georgia for it, and we got the totality there. And one of the things I was talking to Cindy is that you could hear crickets when the total solar eclipse was happening. All of a sudden, it was just this eerie dusk meets dawn kind of. It's hard to describe if you haven't been in one, but it's kind of just this. All of a sudden, and the temperature drop.
And it clears the clouds out.
Clears the
Yeah,
clouds.
clouds clear.
Worked beautifully.
It's quite an event. So hopefully, and we're still going to bring that to you heading into next year. I'm going to try to, get on a flight. All right,
I think one of us should go.
100%.
Okay.
Absolutely. They don't after 2024. I think it's going to be a while.
It'll be a long
right.
time.
It'll be a
So
long
this is
while.
our
So
chance.
we got to get in there. Casey from the hammocks is wanting to know what everybody wants to know, which is when is the cold air going to get here? It is October, but we're in South Florida, so these fronts don't necessarily come in this early, but we may have one for next week.
Cold is subjective.
Indeed.
It does determine on one's feeling of cold, but this is actually next week. Cold front here. Now, a few things we watch for the cold front. One, the front itself, but where does that high come in? If it's right over the southern plains, that's perfect because that gives us that nice breeze coming in here to South Florida, and that is what we're expecting there next Monday and Tuesday. In fact, that wind coming in from the northwest, as long as it stays over land, that cold, dry air, by the time it gets here, it's cool. But it looks like Monday night to Tuesday, we'll see these temperatures dropping here. It looks like Tuesday morning, you could see a nice little brief comfort there as we drop into the 50s, not quite, but I think
No,
60s
not
is
quite.
reasonable.
So I'm always I'm always surprised at what our western inland suburbs can do, like places like Weston.
Broward,
Dave,
you're going to get some nice cool air.
We may get in there. By the way, you made a good point. So it has to come, the wind flow has to come directly over land because the water temperatures we know are very warm, which is why it is really difficult to get cold in the Keys. So if there's ever a cold front coming and you want to escape the brunt of the cold air, that's where you want to go, is surrounded by 85 degree water temperatures there. So it's hard to really get chilly overnight in the Keys. So we're hoping for 60s. That's going to be the forecast. You've been seeing that on our 7-day the last few days. So that is what's going to be coming, I think, for early next week, and then we'll have high temperatures in the low 80s.
Typically the average, which is over time, is November 8th when we see that average go below 70. So a little ahead of schedule.
Isn't it funny that we talk about 70 as being chilly? People up north would laugh at us.
Well, and I lived up north, so I know all about it. I went from Florida to Boston, and I thought, oh my gosh. And then you get acclimated, just like anything. Now, 65 would probably, definitely feel cool for me, especially when it comes with that dry air, because it's you can evaporate easier, and so all of a sudden the wind hits you, and it feels nice and cool and crisp. And finally, we get our like we always have the palms. We can't tell when the season changes. There are some trees that change here,
And
but
even in the January, our coldest time of the year, we don't drop into the 50s
Right.
for average lows.
For average lows.
61 is the
61,
coldest.
that's what
on
we
average.
And the
bottom out.
coldest we've ever had. I mean, I was here with one of the coldest back in '89.
Yeah.
It was in the 20s.
Last Christmas was a little
yeah.
chill in the air.
Little chill last year, so we'll see what happens this year. But that is all we have for this week. Always send us your questions. That one was perfect because it's timed out exactly when this front's going to come in, and we're hoping to finally get a little bit of actual fall here, you know, and maybe we can switch the coffees to hot. I'm still on iced. All right. That is it for us from Next Weather. Hope to hear from you and have a great rest of your week.
Always alerting, always tracking. This is Next Weather.